Let's talk basic stage etiquette for freelancers. And the reason it's for freelancers specifically is that when you're freelancing, when you show up to a gig, you are indirectly being viewed beyond your playing on your basic manners, your presence, your attitude, and other etiquette that could make the difference whether you get hired again or not for future gigs. The very first thing is to be on time. That sounds obvious, but it is so important. Freelancers are often at a gig hours ahead of time and have to sit in their car. And why that is usually you're traveling several miles to get to a gig. If you know that it could, with traffic, take 2 hours to get somewhere, you have to at least, at minimum, plan for 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get there. You just cannot chance being late on just because of traffic. So if it could take you 2 hours to get there, if there's traffic or if there's an accident, you have to account for that. You could get there in 20 minutes, and then you've got, an hour and a half-ish to kill time, but that you just have to do that. Also with being on time, another thing, once you get there, a lot of people are hanging around backstage, all the string players, for example, and it's fun to socialize and say hi to everybody. But as a wind player, you need to get on stage well before the downbeat and get everything unpacked. Oftentimes you have 3 instruments, play them all, make sure everything's working, get your parts all situated. Second thing is to make sure you're completely prepared with your music. And this goes well beyond just practicing your part, if your part's available. So of course you've practiced your part, or maybe you look through it a little bit, but beyond that, you want to make sure that you're able to do things like turn any pages that are difficult. So you need to, as a freelancer, have that planned out in advance. So as you're practicing, if you can see that there's going to be a nearly impossible page turn, what any freelancer will do is copy that page that needs to be turned and do a taping job there. And so have it all prepared before the first rehearsal so that you can manage that page turn. If you don't do that, you don't come in because there's a bad page turn and the conductor asks, it's just a bad page turn. It looks like you never opened the music, like you never even cracked it open and you had no idea. Also with the music, making sure it's prepared beyond just practicing your part is of course look through all the pages, even, and I would say especially, program that is a pops or more relaxed music, because you never know what's going to be in there. There could be some Irish jig that has a huge piccolo feature, and you can't have that be a surprise. Or you can't all of a sudden, when you're reading the first rehearsal, come across 8 bars of alto flute, and you didn't bring your alto flute because you never noticed that part. You need to notice all that stuff. Be prepared for the first rehearsal. The third thing that really makes a big difference between a pro and the opposite of that is if you bring food on the stage and actually eat it, even at break. No one does that. And it just looks very amateurish, and no drinks other than water. So if you're bringing a Diet Coke onto the stage, it just looks bad. It looks like you're not a professional. So don't do that. Just water, and then you have your snacks, your food, drink, backstage at the break. The next thing, the fourth one, can make all the difference, I think, and that is your attitude. You never want to come across as being a complainer. This will definitely get back to the contractor, or the contractor is often on the job, and they will notice that and pick up those things. Your basic personality and how workable you are with other musicians. And even if you feel that's okay, I don't want to ever do this job again, that contractor for that job that's there contracts other jobs. The music world is very small, so it all comes together. Just have a good attitude. You don't have to be fake, you just need to not appear like you're so bored and you cannot wait for this to get over. The next big issue is phones. This is kind of a tricky one, and you basically should be no phone usage on the stage while the rehearsal is happening. So of course before rehearsal, at the breaks, everyone's on their phone. It's just part of life nowadays. But as a wind player, especially if you're playing piccolo, oftentimes you're not playing every single piece on the program, especially if it's like a youth concert program or like a kiddie concert program or a pops concert where you're just going through lots of short pieces and you don't leave the stage and you have this time while everyone else is still rehearsing a piece and that you're not on. Basically, you just need to read the room to see if you can be on your phone. Back in the olden days, we would all have magazines, newspapers on your stand, and you could be very discreet. The phones are not as discreet. The glow, your whole face is gonna glow. It'll be obvious that you're on your phone. I would say if you are brand new to a group, an orchestra, and you're not sure, just sit there and don't be on your phone. I just wouldn't do it. If you're a well-established person in a group and you feel it's okay, then it might be okay. It just depends on the situation. Also, it could depend on where you are sitting from the conductor. If you're right underneath the conductor, for sure don't be on your phone. Just don't. So you just have to have some common sense. So basically, just 5 things, basic etiquette that will go a long way in ensuring that you're called again for future gigs. The first one was be on time, absolutely, as much as you can control it. So get there early. Second one, you need to be prepared. Of course, look through your music and also look through all the pages and make sure you're ready in case there's an alto flute section, and also that you're prepared for any difficult page turns. Third thing was no food on the stage, basically ever. Certainly don't eat anything on the stage. It looks really tacky. Attitude, have a good attitude. You just do your job and do the best job that you can. And then the last thing was about the phones. Just be very mindful of the room. If you feel it would be okay to get away with being on your phone while you don't play one piece while it's being rehearsed, you just have to use common sense, read the room. If you're not sure, don't do it. To be a successful freelancer takes much more than just playing your instrument very, very well. You need to be aware of etiquette, manners, attitude, all these things that we've gone over to ensure that you are somebody that the contractor wants to hire you for, that other musicians will want to work with. So I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you at the next video.